Perfect. All right, so let's get started. Welcome to all who are thinking about renewing their lease agreement to live on campus for another year. We're going to start off by introducing ourselves here. So all of our UNO Housing and Residence Life team who are here and going to be kind of talking to you about the renewal process. So I'll start. My name is Taylor Brewer. I'm the leasing professional for Scott Campus Housing. So basically what I'm responsible for is once you apply for housing or anything like that or go through that renewal interest form, basically I'm the one who sends out the lease agreements and make sure that you are reserving your space in on-campus housing for the next year.
Hi, my name is Demaya Valdivia. I am the Housing Operations Coordinator. So I oversee Dodge Campus. I send contracts to students. I help assign villages and help you with your roommate selection. I also oversee the housing email and our main phone line.
Cool. All right. So just kind of some quick little tips. If you guys have any questions throughout this presentation, you can absolutely feel free to put them down in the chat, or you can leave them until the end of the session. We're not going to answer questions right away. We'll have kind of like a big like Q&A session kind of towards the end. But just so you don't lose your train of thought, you can absolutely put them in the chat there. But yeah, cool. We'll get started. All right, so if you have decided that you want to live on campus yet again, we want to make sure that you're aware of all of your options. And so before you fill out any of your renewal information, or even if you already have, we want you to consider the following housing options that you have. So that first one is renewing your contract lease in the same exact room. So this is, hey, I want to live exactly where I am. And then number two, we have renew your contract lease in the same residence hall. So if you want to be in the same property, say you live in Scott Crossing, you still want to live in that building, but you want to change bedrooms or even change units to somewhere else, this would also be a housing option you have. The third option is to renew your contract lease on the same campus. So say you're living on Dodge campus and you currently live in Maverick Village, but you want to move to University Village. That's also an option that you are given. Another option that you get is transferring from one campus to another. So if you go from Dodge to Scott and vice versa, that is absolutely possible. Another option that you can have is, hey, maybe on-campus housing isn't the right choice for you next year. You can absolutely move off campus. So those are all of our housing options that are available to our residents. So yeah. All right, so first we're going to touch on specific renewal information and the renewal process for Dodge campus residents, and Demaya is going to get us through that.
You can go ahead and go to the next slide for me.
Perfect.
Thank you. All right, so if you have completed your intent to renew form but have not been offered a contract yet, don't worry, we are planning to send those out this month. We haven't sent any out yet, so just be on the lookout for the email that you provided in the initial form that you filled out, because we will be contacting you with more information here really soon. Our form does close on January 31st, which is exactly a week from today. So if you have not filled out that form, you still have a little bit of time, but make sure you do go ahead and complete that and get that turned in if you are still interested in renewing. If you do have any concerns, you can always email us at unohousing@unomaha.edu. And please include your NUID, as that just helps us find your information a lot better and make sure that we are making changes if need be on the right profile. Okay, so the renewal form has been sent out. The initial email was sent out on November 22nd. We sent the email out a couple times in December, and it's been sent out weekly this month as well. So I will send it again this week before the week is over, and I will send it again next week. So make sure you find one of those emails to fill out that form. We also have flyers posted around the villages on Dodge campus, so you can just scan the QR code on the flyer and you can fill it out on your form as well, on your phone as well. Contracts will be sent again to your personal email and your UNO email, as we try to contact people multiple ways. So you are making sure you get that information. You will be given a 2-week time frame to sign. So just keep that in mind. If you get offered a contract and you're still unsure about what you want to do or your plans, you do have a little bit of wiggle room to kind of think that through before you go ahead and sign your contract. you must go back into the housing portal to complete the offer contract. So you don't need to go in before we offer you a contract and do anything, but you have to go back into that same portal to access the contract you're being offered. Keep in mind, if you are under 18, you will need to put in the proxy information for a parent or guardian before you can move on to the next step. So just keep that in mind. You can't really move forward until you get that step done. There is a $50 activity fee, so that needs to be paid before your contract is considered complete. Um, you only need to complete the contract if you're renewing on Dodge campus. So if you're staying on Dodge campus, please fill out this form. If you plan to move to Scott campus, you don't need to fill out this form. If you're not returning, we don't need you to complete this form either. If you have already submitted the form, which we have a lot of people who have, you do not need to submit another one. We just want to keep it to one limit per person. And the form, once you complete it, it's not binding you to anything. So just keep that in mind. If you change your mind between filling out the form and when we offer you a contract, that is perfectly okay. You're not, you haven't signed a contract yet, so don't fret if you signed it or if you filled it out and changed your mind. If you did change your mind though, please email us at UNO Housing and just let us know, hey, I changed my mind, so we can take you off that list and we won't even send you a contract. So just a few things about the renewal form. And just remember, you can always email us if you have any additional questions regarding that.
Awesome. Cool. All right, so now we're going to go into specific renewal information for Scott campus residents. So as we've said, since we are different campuses, we're going to follow some different processes. So here we go. All right. So with Scott campus, the main difference is that we are asking that every single resident who currently lives on our property completes that renewal interest form, regardless of if they want to renew with us or not. So with that, we sent out that renewal interest form to our UNO students through email on December 1st. So we did kind of send out a reminder to guarantors. However, they didn't receive the link to the renewal interest form. That's just to kind of eliminate any confusion between maybe the guarantor and the tenant filling it out twice. We also want to limit it to one person to fill out the form. But we did send out reminders to guarantors as well, just saying, hey, think about it. It's coming up. Get your student on top of it. So yeah, basically we just want to make sure that our current residents who live on campus are well taken care of, and we want to make sure that they're given the opportunity to receive their preferred type of housing before we open our doors to new applicants. So one of the biggest reminders for us, our deadline is a little bit different. We ask that all of our residents fill out the renewal interest form by February 11th, 2024. So basically on this renewal form, what we're going to ask is we are going to ask you, are you wanting to renew? You want to live on campus for next year. Another thing we have is maybe, I'm unsure of my plans, but I still want to receive a lease agreement in the event that I do end up wanting to live on campus. Or no, I'm set with my plans. I'm not living on campus for Scott campus for next year. So, yeah. All right, so a little bit different as well from Dodge campus. We've actually started sending out our renewal leases just as time has gone by. So a lot of people have actually, who have filled out the renewal interest form, have received a lease contract from us. So we started that around mid-December. And basically, once you were sent that, it is through email. So the student and the guarantor should receive a lease link. And it is from our lease signing partner. Their name is Blue Ink. And basically, whatever email is provided on that renewal interest form is where we send those leases. So just a reminder to fully reserve your space in on-campus housing. Our leases require both the student and the guarantor to complete both sides before the space is officially reserved. So just make sure that both sides are getting done. If the student fills one out and the guarantor has yet to complete it, that does not mean that they've reserved their space for next year. So if you have any questions about your lease status, you're unsure if maybe you filled out your side, you can feel free to email in and I would be happy to kind of help you out. Also, if you have any troubleshooting issues when signing that contract or can't find the link, feel free to contact us. We'll help you out. Another thing that we've been given is a 2-week time frame for both sections to be completed. Just with our lease signing process and our lease signing partner, Blue Ink, Typically, like the lease link is active for 2 weeks. This doesn't mean you won't reserve a spot. The link just may expire, so just contact us and we'll kind of figure it out for you. All right. So our last kind of thing, if you still haven't seen a contract, but you filled out that renewal interest form, you haven't received a lease from our office, you're wondering where it's at, just feel free to contact us. Our email is up there. It's that leasing@scottcampus.com. Typically, new leases are sent every Friday. But sometimes we've been sending them out at random. It kind of just depends on the flow of how many people have filled out the form. So yeah, another troubleshooting tip that I recommend if you still can't find your lease link, sometimes they end up in like the spam or junk folder in your email inbox. Just because it's from a lease signing partner, Blue Ink, it may not be recognizable for our UNO email. But still, if you can't find it, we'll absolutely troubleshoot and help you out. Give us an email or give us a call and we'll walk you through it. All right. So now we're going to talk about things. Just basically, we've gone over the ones specific processes for our different campuses, but we now want to make sure that you're aware of the general renewal information that applies to any individual living in on-campus housing at UNO. All right. So these are some important things to keep in mind about our renewal process. So the first thing is only submitting the intent to renew form or the renewal interest form. This does not mean you have guaranteed your spot in on-campus housing. This is only the first step. Filling out that form is the first thing, and it's basically just expressing interest. To really reserve your placement, you have to sign and complete the contract sent to you. So that's one of the most important things. Um, and then also, this is another thing that's been a little bit, we've gotten a lot of questions on. So you will not be required to submit a new UNO housing application if you are wanting to live on the same campus you're currently living on. So you won't have to go into your MavLink and pay an extra $260 again. If you are living on the same campus, so you live in Maverick Village, you want to stay on Dodge campus, don't fill out a new housing application. Same with Scott campus. If you live on Scott campus and you're going to plan on living on Scott campus next year, don't fill out another application. However, on the opposite side, if you are wanting to switch campuses, if you're wanting to go from Dodge campus to Scott or Scott to Dodge, then that is the time that you fill out a new housing application. So I kind of went over that just now. That's my bad. But basically, if you're wanting to switch from one campus to the other, you have to fill out a new application, and that'll be done on your MavLink account. Another thing, if you plan on moving off campus and you're not interested in living on campus anymore, then there's no further steps that you need to complete. With Dodge, you don't have to fill out that intent to renew form. With Scott campus, we ask that you fill out that renewal interest form and say, no, I'm not living on campus next year. But after that, you're good to go, and then you can fulfill your current lease term and then move off campus. All right. Okay, so in the event that you submitted your renewal form and you received a lease contract for next year, and then now things have changed, different opportunities have arisen, and you're no longer interested in on-campus housing for next year, there are some steps that you're going to have to take. So the first thing that you have to do is inform the UNO housing office to cancel the contract. We only take cancellations from the student. So if you're the guarantor canceling on the student's behalf, we won't accept that. So just make sure the student is emailing. And then another thing that we ask is we can only accept email cancellations. So we need that cancellation in writing. We can't take any cancellations over the phone. So that's another important note. And then also we want to make sure you get specific. So in that email, when you email in your cancellation, make sure to include your name, make sure to include your NUID, and then also state why you're canceling. Just say, hey, I'm canceling my contract. I'm no longer interested. If we don't have your information, we won't be able to find you and cancel your contract. So just make sure you're providing us with as much information as possible so that we can better assist you. Another thing, so if you are wanting to cancel the lease agreement for next year, but you have signed and completed it. So both sides of the contract have been completed. You've basically reserved your space in on-campus housing, but now you're canceling that contract. There is going to be a different and extra step to that. So with that, if the lease is completed, then you will be required to adhere to the UNO Housing and Residence Life cancellation policy at the time of your cancellation. So you're always going to email in with that request to cancel. And then after that, basically, we'll inform you of that cancellation policy during that time. So if you cancel that contract before April 30th, the cancellation policy that's in place at that time is you will just forfeit your $200 security deposit. If you cancel from May 1st to July 31st, a signed and completed contract, then the cancellation policy will be where you forfeit your $200 security deposit plus a $750 cancellation fee. So just keep that in mind when you're kind of canceling your contract. If you're kind of unsure of if you're planning on renewing, we always recommend that you don't sign a contract until you exactly know your plans, just so you don't have to go through the cancellation policy. Another important thing is if you if you deferred your deposit to your fall 2024 student account, you will still owe the deposit. So just kind of making sure that you're looking towards that. Even if you cancel, you're still going to be held liable to pay that $260 fee once it's posted. Okay. Then we have some helpful reminders as you consider living on campus again for next year. So just some requirements and just some reminders. In order to live in on-campus housing at UNO, you must be a full-time student. So that means you must be enrolled in at least 12 credit hours to live on campus. Another thing is, we have a lot of people who want to room together, and that's totally great. And we're glad that you have that experience and ability to kind of live together. But in order to do that, some certain steps need to happen, which is you have to be in the same lease type. So if you are planning on rooming with someone, you want to make sure that you get the same lease type and sign it for next year. If your friend has a Maverick Village contract up on Dodge campus, but you have a Scott Crossing lease agreement, we won't be able to house you together. So make sure you're communicating with each other, and then you can also communicate with us. We would be happy to help you out and kind of make sure that you have the same contract so that you can live together. Another thing that we have are our living learning communities and our themed housing. So if you're interested in any of those or anything like that, we do have a bunch of them. So for our living learning communities, we have the honors program in Maverick Village. We have the Thompson Living Learning Community. We have the Scott Scholars. We have the Entrepreneurship Living Learning Community. We have the Engineering Academy. We have the CBA Scholars. So it's super fun. They have kind of a specific area where they're required to live. So if you're involved in any of that, then that's kind of where you'll be at. We also have themed housing. So some examples of that are our Indigenous students, our Greek life, sustainability, and wellness. So if you're interested in any of that themed housing, just feel free to reach out to us and we'll kind of give you more information on that or provide you with a resource to better assist you with that. So another interesting thing that we have had happen is we have ZME versus RoomSync. So ZME is an app that UNO Admissions is using to allow our current students to meet other individuals who are attending UNO. It can absolutely help you find people you may want to room with. However, it should not be utilized as the ultimate roommate matching application that our housing office uses. So ZME is just kind of for you to meet people who also go to UNO and finding the same interest. And so that's a great way to find someone to live with. However, in order to kind of guarantee to room together, you want to make sure you have the same lease type. And then also we use RoomSync for housing. And so you'll have to actually go in onto our RoomSync app when it's sent to you, and then you'll have to match with them there. If you go on ZME and you want to request them, unfortunately, we won't be able to see that. And with RoomSync, it'll actually guarantee that roommate match. So yeah. All right. And then Demaya is going to talk for a little bit.
So we do have some more Housing 101 sessions coming up. The next one would be February 29th with new housing. So you all, I'm assuming, are renewing, so this may not apply to you, but if you are new to housing and want more steps of what's coming next, that would be a good session to attend. On March 20th, we're gonna have roommate information. So if you do want to chime into that one, we'll be talking more about roommate focus in housing. Taylor kind of touched on Room Sync. So late February, Room Sync will be sent to qualifying contracts, which means you signed or your proxy signed, guarantor, all of that, everyone signed, all parties, and you paid that activity fee. So that is what is considered a qualifying contract. And then June 15th at midnight is when Room Sync closes. So keep that in mind if you are kind of pushing off when to submit that. You have until the 15th of June to get that done. And again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at unohousing@unomaha.edu. You can also call our number if you would like to talk to someone over the phone. If you would like a tour, feel free to come in and just stop by. You don't have to make a request or reserve a time slot to come visit campus on campus living. Geez. You can just kind of show up at one of our clubhouses and just request you want to see one of the model rooms.
Yeah. Also with Scott Campus, we do offer housing tours. We didn't have a room available for quite some time, but we finally got a model tour room back. So if you are needing a tour or anything like that, just feel free to email and we'll kind of get that set up for you too. But yeah. All right. So now we're going to kind of open it up to questions. So you can feel free to put them in the chat. I'll kind of read those through and through. But basically, this kind of ends our housing presentation just regarding the renewal process. So thank you so much for coming. We really appreciate it. If you have any further questions, just feel free to reach out. But yeah, we're going to go through the questions now, so feel free to put them in the chat.